Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. I hope that you were able to make use of the facilities to visit our sponsors, to meet other delegates in the meeting hub. I'm delighted to welcome you back to our sessions. And I'm very pleased to introduce another very practical session. We're really focusing on making sure that our sessions have practical content that you can apply on a daily basis. And of course, there's a lot of talk about the use of artificial intelligence. Lots of theoretical talk, but how in practice can you use artificial intelligence to speed up and improve your digital transformation, particularly focused around test authoring? That's going to be the subject that Johan Le Chevalier of Source Labs will talk to us about now. He's a senior solution engineer. And so with that, I will pass la parole, I'll pass the baton over to Johan. So Johan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Justin. Bonjour à tous. Good morning, everybody. My name is Johan Le Chevalier. Indeed, I am a senior solution engineer working at Source Lab. I am delighted to present you today this topic around using AI to enable and author your test for SaaS applications. So before moving to this specific topic, a very brief overview of Source Labs for those who may not know us. Source Labs has been created 12 years ago with the purpose of creating a platform on demand, always on, for running your tests, automations, live or automated tests on any devices. And so far, we have been very successful. We have more than 4 billion tests run on our platform as we speak today, with very good adoption by customers around the world. We have more than 550 customers everywhere on the planet. So it's very successful. And the tool we propose, the solution we propose, is really aimed to help you in this digital transformation. So we provide an enterprise security environment and support to help you testing on headless browsers, cross-browser testing solutions, testing on mobile emulators and simulators, or even on real devices maintained by us on demand for you. On top of that, we provide tools that are going to help you to understand how your tests are behaving during your builds and release of your new versions of products. So we provide analytics tools, video and screenshot following the test you have been carrying on to understand, analyze the test, debugging tools, and live session testing. And all of that comes with the visibility for the 360 user experience. We propose functional testings, performance testings, visual regression testings, API testings, and AI test authoring solution, as well as a new product also not mentioned here, which are deployment of applications on mobiles. So you are certainly very familiar with this topic, but in terms of the financial sector and industry, the SaaS adoption is definitively in place. So we are going to have a look very briefly about what are the new challenges which are going to come because of the SaaS adoption in the financial sector. So back into 2019, McKinsey were forecasting that in 2020 and above, there will be a very significant acceleration in the SaaS adoption in the financial industry. In 2019, 25% only of the core activities of the largest banks were on public cloud, but this trend was supposed to accelerate in the next years. The pandemic has accelerated this move. We have seen a lot of adoption of SaaS solution over the last couple of months because of the pandemic. People are forced to work from home. So businesses have to readapt and provide access very easily to solutions, regardless of where the people are, customers or employees. And it's not a surprise that in 2020, when Bank of England carried out this study to try to understand what kind of different SaaS applications were used by the banks and insurers on the market, they found out that in 2020, more than 1,500 of different SaaS applications were already used by the specialists in the financial institutions. And so because of that, it's very natural to see that in the top 10 priorities for all the CFOs for this coming year is accelerating the cloud adoption within the financial institutions. But with that comes a challenge, and this challenge is certainly underlined in the Capgemini study World Quality Report carried out between 2020 and 2021, where basically all the QA and SDETs were participating to this study. 79% of them were considering there is not enough automation done in the testing. So the SaaS applications are not going to be independent from that. They are going to fall as well in the same problem. How can you automate testing on SaaS applications that are not hosted within your environment, on SaaS applications that require some data generated on the fly, synthetic data, or on SaaS applications that can change over the time with an agenda that you cannot control? How you are going to be able to provide that at the QA and SD team level? So as we speak of SaaS applications, let's more precisely speak of very fundamental business processes that you may already you have in place, and you may already using some of those SaaS applications for them. So for example, we can mention the code to cash business process, from the contact inquiry to the code generation, the order processing, the order fulfillment, and then the billing. It can encompass a lot of different components, and they can be different SaaS applications. So here, as this example illustrating one of our customers in the US, the contact inquiry code generation is taken by Salesforce, the order processing by Zuora, the fulfillment, Oracle, and the billing by SAP. So you can have different SaaS applications linked all together around this very critical business process. And that's very critical for the company, because indeed, if one of the component breaks, or if the workflow is not validated properly, you may have some very significant issues in this code to cash workflow. Another example we can take, which is also coming from some of customers, is a procure to pay business process, where from the requisition at the employee request level to the approval step, then the purchase order, the receipt, the invoice, and the payment, it can involve SAP, Coupa, and Oracle. So those processes are very familiar to everybody, and indeed, they may already be relying on external applications running in the SaaS, as a SaaS. So the SaaS applications, they are obviously providing a lot of flexibility, a lot of benefits. It's always on, you don't have to maintain them, and it's coming with a lot of features for you. But at the same time, because you are not hosting them, you are not maintaining them yourself, as we were doing that 20 years ago with our own deployed instances of Oracle in the data centers, where we could control the updates and the upgrades at our convenience. With the SaaS applications, the agenda is different. They release very frequently new updates, new features. And here in this slide, you can see for 2021, the agenda, how fast and how often SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, and ServiceNow, they are going to release new version of their product. So it means for you, if you are using them, you would have to validate your processes before the release. Fortunately, when they release new versions, they provide this new release in advance to you, to the team, a few weeks before the official release. But unfortunately, once the official release is coming, you cannot still be working on the previous version. You have to switch to the new one. So it's like you are forced to jump from version to version very often with an agenda that you cannot really control. So the problem is how your QA and SD team can cope with the load of work to be able to do all the testing in time, every time, basically. So when we speak of tests, the life cycle of a test is very familiar to everybody. It starts with the definition of a test case. You formulate your intent, what you want to do. Then this test case is translated by a team of experts into test scripts, so that those test scripts, they can be scheduled and run automatically. And they need to come with test data. And that starts to be a problem, because with a regulation, you cannot really use production data. You have to somehow extract data and anonymize data. So the test data step can be very lengthy, very long, time consuming, and it's necessary to work with your test scripts. Once you have both, then you can start executing the test, scheduling the test on your system, and the test execution is going to generate reports with assertions, it fails or it passes, so that you can understand if your workflow, your business workflow, is going to work with the next update of the application. But once you have your cycle of test, script, data, execution, and report, what may happen is that the SaaS application is changing. A new feature is happening, or a hidden element in the web page is breaking the XPath, as an example. So your test may fail and break if there are new business intelligence introduced at the SaaS application level. So you may have to come back and to update the test and manage the change on your test scripts. And it can take a lot of time. So all of that depicts the typical test lifecycle, and it can be very time consuming if you don't control the release cycle of the applications by the SaaS provider. So if we have a look and we zoom in per step in the test lifecycle, there is a lot of efforts required for the test creation, from the writing of the definition of the test to translating that into code, creating the data and executing the test. So it's really an effort made by specialists, team of people who are used to code, and it can be very, very lengthy in terms of time. Usually speaking, we consider that one script per day is an average on the market, as we could say, and it's done by very high-level skilled people. Once your test is written with the data and executed, there may be some changes to manage, as the SaaS components may change, with visible changes or invisible changes. So when the test breaks and you need to maintain it, look for the changes on the page, identify potentially new XPaths or new elements in the hidden DOM. You update the code, and it's not an easy part of the maintenance, because basically you need to come back to the test and come back through the page and go and find out where it breaks. So it can take a lot of efforts. And we can consider it more or less 1 hour per script when it fails. But that's not the only thing. Typically, when there is a new business logic introduced by the application, it can be a new dialogue, it can be a new step when in the process, it can break your test, and you need to come back, integrate this new business logic in it, and you need basically to review the test, the code, and amend it and update it. And it can be very time consuming as well. So that's where AutonomIQ from SauceLab is coming in place, and is proposing, by using AI, a new way to generate your tests. So using AI to reduce the amount of effort you have to do to write a test, and to maintain the test, and to generate synthetic data for the test. That's where AutonomIQ is coming into place. So basically, AutonomIQ from SauceLabs can work with any kind of SaaS applications. It can be the Salesforce, the ServiceNow, Workday, and so on, or it can be your own web application. It doesn't matter. So we can work with any web applications, and basically we write tests by just defining in plain English what is the intent of the test. So you define step by step what you want to do, and you provide that to AutonomIQ. Within AutonomIQ, the AI engine, which is based among others, from an NLP engine, which stands for Native Language Processing Engine. It's going to understand the in English the intent you define in English and translate that into code for execution. The engine is going as well to be able to provide you not only the generation of the script, but also to maintain and repair your scripts by identifying where it's breaking and suggesting to you how to fix it. And also, the platform is going to provide you an orchestration and for the orchestrate the execution of your tests against browsers and as well against different sort of environments. So that's AutonomIQ in a nutshell. So the benefits of using artificial intelligence to author the test scripts are very intuitive to understand. Between the moment you provide the intention of your test to the generation of the script, it takes minutes basically to get those code generated. It takes minutes to get your test and the business logic behind executed on the platform and validated. In terms of maintenance as well, the AI part of the platform is going to help you to maintain your tests easily, so that it's going to, for instance, suggest with smart maintenance what you should change in your test, or it's going to take decision about what should be executed if it's not present on the element you're trying to click, for example. So it's going to help you to simplify the maintenance of your test and simplify that to minutes. And likewise, sorry, it's a mistake for me. And likewise, if there are any new elements introduced into the SaaS at the web page level, it's going to detect the new objects and propose you, recommends you some new steps, and you will be free to accept or reject them. And this is going to help you to basically be resilient if there are changes in terms of business logic from the SaaS application level. So really, the value proposition of AutonomIQ is to use your subject matter experts, Salesforce, Oracle, ServiceNow, or of your SaaS application, and to use their skill of the tool to create and formulate the intent of your test in plain English, and from there to analyze it and translate it into a script test in Java, to be able to as well generate synthetic data for the test to be executed properly in the good conditions on your platform, to propose you as well API testing with the same approach of using natural language description of what you want to do, to be compatible with CI/CD tools so that you can have those tests once generated by the platform integrated in your Jenkins pipeline, for example, so that the tests are just executed on the fly or regularly at your convenience, to detect any changes from a visual standpoint in the object hidden or visible on the SaaS application, and also to provide with the same approach database validation by being able to execute queries, SQL queries from a plain English description. So that's really powerful. And I think the best way to see that is to go through a very brief demonstration, which I'm going to start right now, and that will leave us maybe a few minutes at the end of the of this topic for questions. So when you, I'm just going to come to the product interface. When you log on AutonomIQ, obviously as a user, you have you can define projects in your environment, and the way you can create test cases is very simple. You can use either a recorder, which is going to basically record all your actions on the window. So the recorder basically is going to start a session. Oops. Here, for instance, I'm just confused about my screen, what it's doing. Apologies for that. That's the okay, that's not that. Okay. So the recorder is basically going to record every step I'm doing into the web interface, as you can see here. And from that, it is going to translate those actions I'm performing on the SaaS application into steps into AutonomIQ. So here I am creating in Salesforce, I'm logged in, I'm creating a new opportunity, and I am defining the name of the opportunity, the account I am going to use, the stage of the opportunity, and saving this opportunity. So if I have a look now on the recorder has logged in all the steps for me, for my test case. And then when I record it, it's going to amend in AutonomIQ. It's going to generate a new test for me. So I don't need to know anything about AutonomIQ to do that. I don't need to know anything about coding and scripting to do that. I just need to know the tool. I just need to be the subject matter expert of the tool. And here, for example, it's Salesforce, but it can be any SaaS applications. And based on the actions I have performed, it is going to translate them into steps. So open the website, then enter the username, the login, and the password, and so on. And from there, it's going to create my test and translate that into a Java language. We can have a look, for instance, here to this code to order business process, which has already been translated previously. Basically, you can see on the screen, we define the actions, open the website. So we provide the action and the value of the variable we want to perform with. We then define the screen size. We define, enter the username we want to use for logging in, enter the password, and click on login. And from there, we go through all different steps and click on here, for instance, if I want to run on Lightning or Salesforce Classic, I can introduce some logic. And all of those steps are going to define my test case. They come from here, for instance, they may come from another source of information, which is my plain text description, where it's a CSV file or it's an XLS file. So I define in the test step what I need to perform in terms of action, and I provide the data for it. And from this CSV file, for example, I am defining all my business workflow, and I can provide data which are plain English, but I can also generate synthetic data. So here, for example, I can use some regular expressions to generate data on the fly without giving real data into my test. And the platform is going to use them for validating the workflow. I can use macros as well. So I can use today, for example, for the time of the day of today when the test is executed. And here, for instance, for the opportunity name and the close date, I'm going to give you to give to the system the date of today plus 1 month, and in the format of day, month, year, and so on and so on. I define my case and step by step in plain English by defining what I want to do on Salesforce as an example, and I can inject that into the platform. And from there, the platform is going to translate those lines in my CSV file into steps in my test. And the steps are going to be executed on AutonomIQ. And sometimes you will have some elements with what we call here this warning, which is basically indicating that a smart maintenance is taking place because I am asking to click to select, for instance, here a star view, but star view doesn't exist on this page. So the AI part is going to kick on and to detect that there is a change between what I want to do and what is present on the page, and is going to tell me that it's taking the decision to click on view and suggesting me as well at the same time to change my step, and instead of saying click on select star view to select just view as an example. So we understand from there that if anything would happen at the SaaS level, where, for instance, accounts could be renamed, and here, for example, I have an example where here we simulate a change at Salesforce level where the name of the tab is renamed by here we have a new name for it. Now it's new accounts. So when I say to Autonomy click on accounts, it's going to tell me, oh, accounts tab is not there. We have found new accounts, but we still think, based on the previous test you were doing from an historical standpoint, that we should click there. So it's going still to click in the correct area, even if the name has changed, based on the historical test done so far, and based on the analysis on the DOM of this specific page. So that's going to be what we call the smart maintenance. And if there are some new features, if the element has disappeared, for example, the test may fail, and it's going to provide you the explanation of why the test has failed, and as well, it's going to provide you with the smart maintenance the way to solve it, and propose you to solve it for you as well, so that you don't spend hours to try to understand where the problem is coming from. AutonomIQ is going to identify the problem and ask you if you accept to change it with the suggested changes. So that's basically how we are going to leverage AI to generate the code of your test and execute the test and manage the changes on the SaaS. Obviously, you can schedule running the test on the platform at regular basis from AutonomIQ or from your Jenkins CI/CD pipeline with the plugins, and you would generate reports which are going to show what has worked with the check, or what has failed, or if there are any warnings linked to the smart maintenance kicking on. And this way, you will be able to use AutonomIQ to generate simply in few minutes scripts, testing scripts for SaaS applications for critical business workflow, generate synthetic data for those tests, and use the AI part of the platform to maintain the test when there are changes on the SaaS component. So that's pretty unique, and it's already available on SourceLab. So if you would like to have more information about it, feel free to come by and to our booth, and we will be delighted to present you this solution in depth.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was very interesting. I have just one question, in fact, that I have from the audience, and it's around measurement. I get in principle why applying AutonomIQ should enable us to speed up the testing process and therefore be more efficient. But do you find that your customers measure this with business outcomes? What kinds of software development benefits are there? Are they getting more frequent software drops, more on-time deliveries? What are the business outcomes that derive?
Excellent question. So the benefit of using AutonomIQ is not only to increase the coverage in terms of testing. You give back time to your QA and SD team to do more in the same amount of time. So for you, you are really more confident when there is a new release of the SaaS. So that's a big win. Not only they can define more tests in the same amount of time, but also those tests are going to be maintained more easily. So it's going to improve very important, with a very substantial factor, the quality of their work, and it brings confidence. So for you as a business, when new release comes, you are sure that it's fully validated from a business workflow standpoint. It removes the risk at the business level that you may have some failures in the bidding process that can come with some legal consequences. So that's really, really, really important.
Thank you. And just final question on the same theme. Do you have measures for ROI or improved efficiency post-implementation?
We can work on that with our customers, so we can speak of that offline and engage a conversation with our customer to go through it. Yes, we can do that.
So that was a little naughty, my question, because it's under the area of shameless self-promotions of our QA Vector Analytics program, where we are working with various customers on measuring those outcomes. And if anybody here would like to know how we can do A/B analysis to show the improved efficiencies and financial benefits of implementing AutonomIQ or any of our vendors' tools, then please contact me afterwards. Johan, thank you. That was really interesting. And it was great that I've had the privilege of moderating 2 sessions where we've had really practical, hands-on demonstrations of how to use tools, not just theoretical, but what are the business benefits, what are the software delivery benefits of using different tools.